Most people don't have a money problem. They have a system problem. Because money doesn't disappear in one big moment. It leaks slowly through subscriptions, habits, emotional spending, and decisions made without structure. One purchase feels harmless. One app subscription feels small. One "I'll fix it next month" becomes a pattern. And over time, that pattern becomes a lifestyle. Meanwhile, another group of people is playing a completely different game. They are not tracking every dollar manually. They are not relying on discipline. They are not trying to be better with money every month. They are building systems that automatically control how money behaves before they even think about it. That is the real shift happening in 2026. Budgeting is no longer about restriction. It is about infrastructure. And if this breakdown makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel right now. We break down real systems every week that actually work in real life, not fantasy money advice. Now let's get into it. The foundation. Financial visibility. The first layer of modern budgeting is not saving money. It is seeing money clearly. Because most financial stress does not come from low income. It comes from confusion. People don't actually know where their money is going, and that uncertainty slowly creates financial anxiety. That is why the first step in the 2026 budgeting tech stack is full visibility. Apps like Monarch Money, Yab, and Copilot Money bring everything into one place. Bank accounts, credit cards, subscriptions, investments, and spending history all appear in a single dashboard. Not scattered, not hidden, not delayed. Visible in real time. And this changes behavior faster than any budgeting rule ever could. Because when people finally see the truth of their spending, they stop guessing and start adjusting. If you are serious about taking control of your finances, this is where you begin. Automation, removing human error from money. The second layer is where budgeting stops depending on motivation. Most people fail financially not because they don't care, but because they rely on willpower in a system that constantly tests it. Automation removes that weakness completely. In a proper system, money is divided the moment it arrives. Bills are separated automatically. Savings are transferred automatically. Investments happen automatically. Spending money is isolated automatically. There is no debate every month. There is no emotional decision-making. The system executes first, and you simply follow it. This matters because human behavior is unstable, especially under stress. But systems are not emotional. They do not change based on mood or timing. That is why automation is the backbone of modern financial stability. Automation also creates consistency. And consistency is what builds long-term wealth. Small financial decisions repeated correctly over years matter far more than occasional bursts of discipline. The fewer manual choices you make, the fewer mistakes you create. Financially successful people often rely less on motivation and more on systems that quietly run in the background every single month. If you only change one thing from this entire breakdown, start here. Subscription control. Fixing the silent leak. Most people don't realize how much money they lose through subscriptions. Not because they are expensive individually, but because they are invisible collectively. A few dollars here, a few dollars there, and suddenly, a large portion of monthly income is gone without any meaningful awareness of where it went. This is where modern budgeting tools become essential. They automatically detect recurring payments, flag unused services, and highlight rising subscription costs before they spiral out of control. Some systems even allow direct cancellation from inside the app. But the real value is not cancellation. It is awareness. Because financial damage rarely comes from one big mistake. It comes from dozens of small ones repeating silently in the background. Once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. AI, spending analysis, understanding behavior, not just numbers. Traditional budgeting tells you what you spent. AI budgeting tells you why you spent it. That is the difference. Modern tools now track spending patterns and identify emotional triggers behind financial behavior. They can detect when spending increases after stress, when impulse purchases spike after payday, or when lifestyle habits quietly shift over time. This turns budgeting into something deeper than accounting. It becomes behavioral insight. And that is where real change happens. Because you cannot fix what you do not understand. Once patterns become visible, people naturally begin adjusting decisions without being forced. This is how financial control becomes sustainable instead of temporary. High-yield cash management. For years, most people kept their savings in accounts that earned almost nothing. It felt safe, but it was silently losing value over time due to inflation. In 2026, that approach is no longer efficient. Modern cash systems now allow emergency funds and savings to earn meaningful returns while still remaining accessible. This does not require advanced investing knowledge. It is simply better placement of idle money. And over time, the difference compounds significantly. Two people can save the same amount of money, but one uses optimized cash systems while the other does not. Years later, the gap becomes obvious. This is not about risk. It is about efficiency. Investment automation, building wealth without emotional interference. Budgeting alone does not create wealth. It only creates opportunity. Investing is what turns that opportunity into growth. But the problem is consistency. Most people delay investing because they wait for the right time. Others stop investing during market drops. Some restart only when they feel confident again. That emotional cycle destroys long-term progress. Automation fixes this completely. With modern systems like Wealthfront, M1 Finance, and Robinhood, investing becomes a background process. Money moves consistently regardless of emotion. That is the real advantage. Because long-term wealth is not built through perfect timing. It is built through uninterrupted consistency. Spending friction. Designing better behavior. One of the most overlooked parts of budgeting is friction. Not all friction is bad. In fact, financial friction is often what protects people from impulsive decisions. Simple changes like removing saved cards, delaying transfers, or separating spending accounts create a pause between desire and action. That pause matters. Because most unnecessary spending is emotional, not logical. And emotion fades quickly when friction is introduced. This is not about limiting lifestyle. It is about slowing down decisions so they become intentional instead of reactive. Small delays can prevent long-term financial regret. AI price optimization, smarter spending decisions. Online pricing is no longer simple. Two people can buy the same product at completely different prices depending on timing, platform, and algorithmic behavior. That is why AI price tools are becoming part of modern budgeting systems. They compare prices instantly, track historical trends, and identify better buying opportunities automatically. In travel especially, this has become powerful. Flight and hotel prices shift constantly, and AI tools now help users understand when to buy instead of guessing. This changes the goal of budgeting completely. It is no longer just about spending less. It is about spending intelligently. Financial education. The hidden system behind money decisions. Most people do not realize how much their environment influences financial behavior. What you consume daily shapes how you think about money. Entertainment-heavy consumption leads to short-term thinking. Financial education leads to structured thinking. That is why people who consistently improve financially often change their information diet first. They follow better content. They listen to better conversations. They expose themselves to better financial thinking. Over time, their decisions improve without forcing it. Because your inputs eventually shape your outputs. Identity-based budgeting. The system that holds everything together. Every budgeting system eventually fails if identity does not change. If someone still sees themselves as a spender trying to save money, the system will always feel temporary. But when someone begins to see themselves as a builder who manages money strategically, behavior changes naturally. They stop making emotional decisions. They start thinking in systems. They become consistent without needing motivation. This is the final layer because it controls everything underneath it. Without identity shift, tools do not last. With identity shift, systems compound. Here is what most people avoid hearing. No app will fix financial chaos by itself. No automation will save inconsistent behavior. No AI tool can override emotional spending habits. Tools are powerful, but only when they are used inside a system that is consistently followed. That is why most people install budgeting apps and abandon them within weeks. Not because the tools failed, but because consistency was missing. Real financial change always starts small. One subscription removed, one automation created, one investment started, one spending habit adjusted, then repeated. Over time, those small changes stack into something larger. That is how financial stability is actually built. Quietly, slowly, systematically, not through sudden breakthroughs, but through repeatable behavior. If you understood this, don't just move on. Pick one system and start today. One dashboard. One automation. One investing rule. One spending boundary. That is enough to begin. Because financial control is not built in a moment. It is built through repetition. And if this breakdown gave you clarity, subscribe to the channel. We break down systems like this every week that actually work in the real world. No fake motivation. No shortcut promises. Just practical systems that change how money actually behaves. And if you know someone who constantly wonders where their money disappears every month, send this to them. It might be the first time they finally see the system behind it.